some statements about our college and career ready standards, and thought, for time's sake, it would be best for us to gather together and do this, and possibly for the media, something we need to look at doing regularly, just to get updates on what's happening in public education. As Michael shared, and it was shared in our press release, our topic today is specifically for college and career ready standards in mathematics and English language arts. We're not going to venture into other areas today. Those will come at a later date, and I'll be glad to talk to you about them. I really had two goals that I wanted to do this morning, getting us together. First is to present the facts as they apply to Alabama's participation in the Common Core State Standards Initiative in response to the concerns expressed by those who have fear that there will be federal intrusion into our public education system. And I want to be very clear, and I haven't had the opportunity to do this yet, that I in no way want to appear dismissive of those concerns. In fact, I share in some of those concerns. What I want to do today is make sure that those that have those concerns, along with us, are assured that our State Board of Education, our State Department of Education, are doing everything that we can. We have listened through this whole process and put in place those safeguards that will ensure the sovereignty of our state and the decisions we need to make for academics. The second thing that I would like to do is to assure the Alabama legislature that many of the things that are included in Senate Bill 190 and House Bill 254 have actually been addressed by the State Board of Education. And we remain committed to ensuring that the State Board of Education retains its sovereignty as the sole entity vested with the authority to approve standards in our state, and at the same time make sure that it's done through a process that's inclusive, that we get input, which we did through this process, and that we make a commitment to our legislature that we will not allow the federal government or any other politically motivated entity try to force us to make decisions that aren't right for the students in our state. So those are the two goals that I want to try to accomplish today. I'm going to begin with a couple of facts. Those of you who know me, I don't deal with opinions and conjectures. I'm just going to lay the facts out as I know them. The first fact is that Alabama actually voluntarily chose to participate in this effort. There's a packet in the back, if you haven't picked it up already, that's a resolution that our state board passed, allowing us actually to move into this relationship with other states, and I'm so proud of that relationship. Not ashamed of it at all. I was on the phone last week with the state superintendent in Florida, the week before that, state superintendent in Illinois, Wisconsin, Colorado. We're having great conversations about public education across our nation. Not that we're all doing things the same, but we now have some things in common that we can talk about and look at best practices. But there was a key piece in that resolution that I think is really important for today's conversation. It goes like this: whereas any state that participates in development of the Common Core of Standards is not bound to adopt or implement the standards if they are disagreeable with state policies and our practices. And I think that's important, that when our state board decided to go into this, they went into it with an understanding that this would remain a state-led effort. The second thing I think is really important and is somewhat lost in translation as well is that we did not adopt the standards sight unseen. Some states did, but not Alabama. We took what was presented by CCSSO and the National Governors Association's Best Practices Center, brought it back to Alabama, pulled together teachers, leaders, laypersons, higher education faculty to look at those standards in comparison to our standards and look at how we could use both of those pieces of valuable information to pull together what's best for Alabama. And as a result of that, came up with what we call the Alabama College and Career Ready Standards for Mathematics and English Language Arts. And we strategically did that to differentiate ourselves from just adopting the Common Core sight unseen, because we did have an Alabama process to that. There's been concern about the process in the packet that's available for you. We go through the timeline of input that we took. I personally conducted 4 regional hearings across the state, garnered the input, collected the input. We posted it, responded to it. We brought it back to the state board. We conducted another public hearing with the state board where those that were in support and those that were in opposition had the opportunity to present to the state board their concerns. But as a result, the state board adopted what we call the Alabama College and Career Ready Standards for English Language Arts. And I think it's important also to share with you just how seriously the State Board took this move and what they included in that resolution. And it goes like this: whereas any federal government action through administrative fiat or congressional act to dictate or prescribe a particular set of academic content standards or to dictate how such standards are to be implemented is an intrusion into the state's long-standing established rights and responsibilities to deliver K-12 education that violates fundamental principles of federalism. It goes on to say that the Alabama State Board of Education does reaffirm the language in its November the 18th, 2010 resolution that states the Alabama State Board of Education will continue to be the sole and exclusive entity vested with the authority without restriction to adopt or revoke all academic standards in all subjects for students in the public schools of the state of Alabama, including the Common Core state standards, without direct or indirect pressure or coercion by the United States government or any of its subdivisions, and the Alabama State Board of Education will be kept apprised of any such activity. I think that states just how seriously our state board took this to ensure the sovereignty of our state and the decisions that we make for our children. I'll be the first to admit, became very frustrated myself as the U.S. Department of Education began to use what was a state-led effort in many of their documents to try to control things. But again, Alabama, whether you agree with it or not, is quite lucky that we were not a race to the top state. As I talked to some of my friends that are, they would probably give it back if they could because of the strings attached. So we're fortunate that we're not in that category, so we are left to make the decisions that are right for Alabama. Another issue that I would like to share with you that was also in the packet is in terms of student testing. Alabama has very strategically chosen not to be a participating or governing state in either of the national federally funded assessment consortia, one referred to as Smarter Balanced or the other as PARC. We did that because our state board had set a different direction before Common Core even came on the scene. That we wanted to make sure that our students were college and career ready and adopted the ACT and Work Keys as our capstone assessment that is recognized across 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, and business and industry, and have kept that focus as our assessment system. And we'll be bringing some recommendations to our state board in the next couple of weeks, and it really sets Alabama apart. And interestingly, I had a call from 2 state superintendents recently who've been involved with the national consortia saying, we like what we're hearing coming out of Alabama. We're thinking we may like to learn more from what you're doing because we'd like to get out of some of these regulations ourselves. So we're encouraged that others are looking to us for leadership. And probably the most talked about area that is surprising to me because of the care we take there is the use of our student data. Again, right, wrong, or whatever, Alabama is somewhat fortunate in that we have not received, we're only one of 3 states that have not received a statewide longitudinal data system grant. And because of that, are free to make our own decisions about our use of data. We're also unique as a state